This is my third video. I think I'm getting pretty good at this. Well, hey, ain't nothing like the truth though. On January the 3rd, 1987, I was hog-tied and tortured with 290,000 votes from a stun gun by the Lake Worth Police Department. And I've had 31 surgeries since then. Anyone out there with a little bit of medical experience know what a CPK is. A CPK is muscle byproduct. I had a CPK of 683, which is muscle byproduct. My heart was literally supposed to explode from being zapped repeatedly in my neck, my low back, and my shoulders with 290,000 volts from a stun gun as I was hog-tied. For the ones who don't know what hog-tied is, that means that my feet were tied, my hand were handcuffed behind my back, then a rope was used to tie my feet and my hands together whilst I was in a holding cell. During this time, I was shot in my neck, my low back, and both of my shoulders with 2,090 volts. And the video showed at that time that my body bounced up off the ground like a basketball. And I was told by my doctor, Dr. Hushman, specializing in reflex sympathetic dystrophy, which is RSD, that that the only thing saved my life was my physical condition of me hanging drywall for 21 years. That's right, lifting that heavy weight saved my life. Uh, it shrunk every nerve in my body, okay? Dehydrated every joint in my body. And my doctors gave me an alternative. I could have surgery on my cervical spine. For the ones who don't know, cervical is your neck. I have herniated disc from C2 down to T1 with a bulging disc at T2, T5. For the ones who don't know what thoracic is your lower back. I have a rod at L5S1. So I chose to have the surgery on my lower back so I would be able to use my legs to get from point A to point B instead of my cervical spine, which is my neck, where I needed my arms and my head to function correctly. So anyhow, I wound up having carpal tunnel. For the ones who don't know what carpal tunnel is, that's carpal tunnel. Bilateral, repeated, ulnar nerve. For those who don't know what ulnar nerve is, that's in your elbow. Okay, that's my ulnar nerve surgery. Repeated bilaterally. I needed the ulnar nerve surgery to bend my arms. I needed the carpal tunnel surgery to be able to use my hands. I have the rod in my back at L5S1. I needed that to get from point A to point B. I had to operate on my eyes repeatedly for nerve damage. I had TMJ joint. Uh, they had to put the fluid back in several times because all of the fluid had been drained out by this stun gun. Now, I know you are wondering, why would the cops do this to me? Hey, so I, so was I for several years. In my investigation, I found out that I was a better worker than my counterparts. You got to keep in mind, I was in the union back in the 60s and the 70s, and I was the only black out of 5,000 members in my local who had been there for 21 years. And all of the owners of all of the companies that I've worked for, as always, loved my work and respected me and looked out for me. My counterparts that I was working with, I didn't know at the time that there were so many of them that was jealous of me or threatened by me. I knew that there were some that called me nigger to my face, and I accepted it. Some called me monkey to my face, I accepted it. Some called me baboon to my face, I accepted it. Some called me nigger to my face, I accepted it because I wanted the knowledge. And I knew if I hit anyone that I was going to be the troublemaker. I was going to get fired and not them. And so I wanted the knowledge. And in order to get the knowledge, I accepted all of their abuse, you know. But, I could always tell my counterpart, well, hey, if that's the way you feel about me, I'm the only one gonna get fired if we fight on the job. Why don't we meet after work? Once we leave the job, then we can do whatever you want to do. That never occurred, you know. It's always on the job, surrounded by my counterparts. No one would meet me after work off of the premises. So what happened? Okay, I got this friend whom were white. Okay, that were my neighbor. Asked me to take him to the store at a 6-pack of beer. I repeat that, I'm sorry. Asked me to ride with him to the store to get a 6-pack of beer. Because I was on the passenger side of the car and he was driving and drinking a beer. He threw the beer out on my side. The police pulled us over. I found out later on that it was a setup. Okay? Now, I'm the passenger, not drinking, no alcohol in my system. I was arrested, taken down, placed in the holding cell. That's when I was hogtied and tortured. The whole time I was being hogtied and tortured, the 2 white officers were saying, didn't we tell you to stop hanging drywall? We don't want you teaching other blacks drywall. And I'm laying there in pain, screaming from the electrical shock for the 290,000 volts going through my body. So that's when I realized that, wow, I'm being tortured for working and making an honest living, for being a better worker than my counterpart. I didn't realize that I was committing such a bad crime. And you don't want me teaching other blacks? As of today, this is December 15, 2017. They still do not allow blacks in the union doing drywall work. They do not want us in this trade. Okay? I started out at $5 an hour. I worked from $5 an hour up to $15 an hour, learning my trade over the years. After being hogtied and tortured and forced out, I started subcontracting for myself. Folks, you're not going to believe this. There's so much money in drywall, it's pathetic. Young men out there that don't think there's an opportunity, there's something that you can make money at, I'm here to tell you point blank, drywall is the key. Okay? I was a C and D student. C and D. I have no shame about saying that. But I was making $2,500 a day hanging drywall, doing a house a day. Oh yeah, went in at 7 o'clock in the morning. Didn't leave at 9, 10 o'clock that night. But that house was finished. And I had 2 guys working for me. And it cost me $400 a day for 2 men. So that showed me to make $2,100 a day. Oh yeah, I paid my taxes. Of course. Most definitely. Yeah. Always paid my taxes. Always paid my taxes. But with a high school diploma, I was making $2,500 a day. The only reason they hogtied me and tortured me is because they didn't want other blacks into that trade. Because they figure if young blacks who are out there selling drugs realized they didn't have to sell drugs, there was a trade that they could still make the same kind of money that a drug dealer makes on a legitimate job. That was a threat. You got black doctors, you got black lawyers, you got black professionals, you got black professors. So you mean to tell me because they are college material, they're the only one deserve to live a good life? Because I'm a C and D student with a high school diploma, I don't deserve to live a decent livelihood? But hey, it's all right because God is good. The best thing, y'all rednecks, and I'm only speaking of the redneck KKK cops who hogtied me and tortured me to stop me from working. I'm not speaking of the other good white folks, because there's some good white folks out there. Don't get me wrong, brothers. Don't get me wrong. There's some good white folks out there because they helped me. And I'm telling you point blank. But I'm speaking of the redneck, undercover KKK Klansmen that's in society, that's on our police forces, that's in our courthouses, that's just living next door to you. Those are the ones that I'm speaking of. Drywall, young brothers out there thinking that the only way out is selling drugs. Get in your apprenticeship program. Find a way to get in an apprenticeship program. Find a way to get into drywall. There is so much money in drywall. It is pathetic. It is pathetic. So getting back to say, the best thing ever could have happened to me is when y'all hogtied me and tortured me to stop me from making honest living hanging drywall. I'm doing better now than I was when I was hanging drywall. Because all I did was work sun up, sun down, 7 days a week. I would have killed myself working. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Because I came from nothing. Came from nothing. Raised on rice and butter, 2 slices of bread and a glass of sugar water. We were dirt poor. Had the raggedest clothes. Always hungry when I went to school. Kids picked at me because I had on ragged clothes. I'm quite sure I didn't smell that great because I didn't know no better. And my mom passed when I was 15 years old. But my mother had a PhD in dignity and respect that she instilled in her kids. My father, he was abusive as hell. He beat the shit out you, just on general principle, especially me. And the only thing he did for me was whip my behind and made sure I stayed out of prison and I was going to keep a job. Oh, yeah. I was 21 years old, had my own apartment, married with a child, and still getting beatings. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's all right, too, you know. It made me into a decent human being. And during my first marriage, I used to get up 5 o'clock in the morning, boil 10 hot dogs, ride from 20th Street to Comatic Street in West Palm Beach to Badcock Furniture. That's about 10 miles on my bicycle with 10 hot dogs in the bag. And I was told by one of my coworkers, he called me Jimmy, and his name is Ron, and he said, Jimmy, you are not going to ever amount to anything on that bicycle. But I was determined that that bicycle was not going to hold me down. And I was raised up in a neighborhood where there was a drug dealer, there was a pimp, there was a hustler, there was a thief, and I lived in the middle of all of them in the same complex. They went out and did what they was doing. I got up and got on my bicycle and went to work. So don't sit back and pass judgment on me because I decided not to be a criminal. Young folks, criminal is a choice. That's a choice that you make, that you chose to have. You don't have to be a criminal because society say you got to be a criminal. That's a choice of being a criminal. Out of everything they did to me, I'm still not a criminal. Now, there are ways that you can make me into a criminal. If you break into my house on me and my wife, or I got my grandkids over, or my kids over, and you break in my house to do us some bodily harm, because if you break in here, you mean to do us some bodily harm. I'm going to do what I got to do to protect my family, and I'll deal with the consequences afterwards. But you're not going to break in here and leave. So if that's what you plan on doing, get it out your head. Other than that, everything else I can walk away from, you know, because you didn't give me medical treatment when I need medical treatment. That was cool. You know, I went there in pain. I left there in pain, but I can live with that. You know, that's not going to make me act that. That's not going to make me act that. But if you want to make me act that, walk up to me and slap me in my face. That's all you got to do. And see how am I going to respond. Just walk up to me, slap me right in the face, and see will I react. But if you don't put your hands on me, I definitely will not put my hands on you. I've already been through hell. I've survived hell. I've survived the abuse my father put me through. I survived my mother dying at the age of 15, and I had to raise my 3 sisters. I've survived all that. I've survived being hogtied and tortured to stop me from making an honest living. I survived all that. So I can survive anything else that comes my way. A black man does not have any more rights than a dog, a hog, a cow, a horse, a snake, a rabbit. All animals have more rights than blacks, men. Black men are the less on the totem pole as any American, as any animal on this earth. Animals have more rights and get more publicity and more assistance than a black man. Than a black man. And for y'all to take my livelihood just because I was a better worker was dead ass wrong. But it's all right. It's all right. It's all right. Because I'm doing better now than I would have done if I was still working every day. So I want to thank you for destroying my livelihood. Yeah, I want to thank you. And you know who I am, and I know who you are. But bugging my phone, bugging my house, you can't make exist what does not exist. I chose not to be a criminal. I chose not to be a criminal. So if I chose not to be a criminal, you can't make me into a criminal. Okay? Thank you. And you all have a blessed day. But going out to all black men that want to have some out of life, that's a C and D student, even an F student. Hey, get into drywall. Drywall is where the money is. The money is in drywall. Stop selling drugs. Stop killing each other. Get into drywall. The Mexicans, the Cubans, the Italians, they're already there. Blacks, you need to know about drywall. Drywall is the key to getting you out of the ghetto. This is James Dowling signing off. Thank you.